Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised our DNA, laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside, why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stack cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of Don's lies as Arjun act like he's surprised. And there we have it, coming in live on a Thursday evening. Sorry for the missing schedule and all that. I got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm sure Arjun does with his birthday that I missed. Asshole. I still feel bad holding it in. But you know, can we all, if you're listening, you know, let's all sing happy birthday to him. You know, eventually, just say it in your heart. Say it in your heart a little bit. Yeah, old man's gonna need it.
And I will recommend while you sing happy birthday, be sure to wash your hands, and ideally sing it twice. Sing happy birthday twice. Wash your hands, because I think that's the best way to protect us from what's going on outside.
And does it matter what language they sing it in? Can it be any language?
You know, ideally it would be in Spanish.
Ooh,
but
okay.
I know it's difficult for everybody to sing Feliz Cumpleaños.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
You know, if you want to fall back to Chinese, Tagalog, or even Bengali, that's totally cool. Yep. Anything but English. I think we've heard the English happy birthday countless times. It's time to mix it up.
Time to mix it up. I think so. This melting pot that we live in nowadays, I think it'd be wise.
Exactly.
I think we should come up with our next bar will be like 4 bars of just different languages saying the same thing.
I think we should do that. That's probably been done by a lot of other musical artists out there, but none like us. I also loved that you mentioned melting pot, because you know what happens when you have a melting pot? Do you know what comes out of the pot? Bubbles. Bubbles of the soup or whatever you're mixing together come out of like a witch's cauldron, I imagine.
Powder Puff Girls, that's what I thought when you said bubbles.
Hey, that's right. No, I used to like Powder Puff Girls. I used to watch that show, man.
Really?
Wasn't the villain Mojo Jojo?
Yeah, with the purple cape or whatever, and then
yeah. And he was cool. And there was a professor and I forget the other girls' names, but for some reason I found that show very appeling as a youth. It's very,
it explains a lot. It explains a lot, man. We'll talk.
We'll
take it off air, and we'll talk. We'll dive a little deeper into that subject.
We'll talk about all that shit that Don just subliminally sent my way. But I will say, speaking of the bubble, I bring it up because as everybody's aware, sports are slowly coming back, right? Slowly but surely, we have the UFC, which we talked about. There's going to be, I think NASCAR is back to some extent. There's Premier League, right, with Liverpool. I think they won the championship recently, so shout out to them. Not that I'm a fan, but shout out to them.
Hater.
But but the sport that I think Don and I are most interested in is, of course, NBA basketball. And it's been a while now that we were aware that the NBA would return from its hiatus, and I believe the date has been set. It's going to be July 30th, if I recall correctly, and it's going to be only 22 teams out of the 30 returning. And they're going to have this bubble environment in Orlando, Florida, to basically prevent any kind of, in and out happening. They want to make sure all the athletes are checked or tested pretty much on a daily basis, and their families, spouses, whatever it may be, they're all going to be at this Walt Disney Resort in Orlando. This has never happened before. This is completely unprecedented. There are, of course, lots of concerns. There's fears about whether or not it's going to work out the way that they envision. But the fact of the matter is, money talks. And, these big contracts that the team sign with the, television companies, the networks like the Spectrum or Charter or Fox Sports, whatever it is, they require a certain percentage of games to be played for the money to be paid out in full for the contracts, and I think it's somewhere around 70. So for that reason, there's a lot of investment in the NBA returning, and both the players union and the owners, they both agreed that it would be best to continue. Now, I know, speaking with friends of mine and coworkers, there's a split opinion on this. Some people think, it's already June. Why bring the NBA back now? Why not just prepare for the following season? Start on time then. Go with that new season. Just forget about this. Scrap it. Who cares about LeBron's maybe best chance to win a title in a few years' time? Who cares about that? I am not one of those people. I understand that if the players don't play, they miss out on a lot of money. And sure, you can make the case that the players already make too much money. Why is Arjun defending millionaires? Well, I also look at the fact that it's a trickle-down effect. I know that a lot of people work, at the stadiums. They work, logistics. They work different, sales, like different kind of things tied with the NBA. And I believe the money that the NBA gets does trickle down to all those different individuals that aren't necessarily millionaires. And so having the sport go on helps the economy, I believe. And also, I think it provides. Now, I'm going to be careful here. I don't want to say a distraction, because I don't.
No. Here, let me take that from you. I think I know where you're going with this, which is what I was going to bring up.
Sure.
It brings back a sense of normalcy that we're missing, and we've been missing for months now. You and I both know and love the NBA very deeply. We love sports in general, and you and I are both getting a little more active in exploring other sports, like the MMA and other topics we'll talk about later on.
That's right.
I think aside from the whole money and economy or economic impact this will have, I think it's just more important to be able to showcase that the NBA is more than just out for the money. It's entertainment at one of the highest levels of professional athleticism, and it's something that can withstand the differences in time, where it doesn't necessarily have to follow the scheduled programming that we're all used to on an annual basis. It could pick up where it left off, though with slight little nuances and differences. And it'll just... Dude, can you imagine the ratings and how excited people at SportsCenter are going to be to finally have something to talk about? It'll complete the picturesque story that this year was supposed to be, with the Warriors finally being dethroned from the top 3 in the league to something better. And I think it was necessary to do, because there were so many wild cards in this season that these players aren't getting any younger, but they are getting better. But at what point will they start diminishing? And our beloved LeBron James himself is one of those where, as you said, who knows if this is his best shot until maybe next year, if that, depending on what happens during free agency. So I think it's good. I hate that it's a bubble though, but I understand why.
I mean, I thought that one of the points you were about to make was it could be a distraction, given that we have all the protests going on.
Oh no! I don't think that's it, dude. No, they're after the money for sure. I just think it's it's a distraction in the sense of COVID is a tough reality that we're all living in, and who knows, given the rates, if we're going to enter a secondary lockdown. I think even if that were to happen, the NBA and Adam Silver, congrats to him, did a stellar job in establishing this bubble to bypass that event if it were to ever occur. But we'll see.
I'm optimistic. I hope that.
Whoa, Arjun? Optimistic? Hold on. Hold on.
I'm trying to be. I think, if you think about it this way, it's actually safer to be in the bubble and just live your life for a few months in there.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. We should be season ticket holders over there. Dude, we're safe. And we get to watch it live? Yo, we could be like the 2 fans in the stadium that sit like really hella far away.
Like, we're practically in the parking lot.
Yeah. And we're on opposite sides too, It's not even together.
To make the stadium look more full. The camera pans around from one side to the other. I like the idea from the standpoint that, as long as the players are always there and testing is going on every day for the entire staff, for, the players themselves, for families, whatnot, I think it'll be safer than allowing the players to live outside the bubble, obviously.
Sure.
Now, as you know, though, the NBA has given the opportunity for several players, if they wish, to exit the bubble, to not even participate in the rest of the season.
Is it true?
And one of the names that stood out to me was Avery Bradley, current Laker Avery Bradley.
Yeah.
And he had a good reason. I believe it was something about his young child, his daughter perhaps, who has a respiratory condition, and chances are that it might get worse over time. So he kind of needs to be with his daughter and take her to different physicians and whatnot to make sure she's looked after. I can understand that I think is a valid reason.
Yeah, I think I read he's also foregoing $650K, which is, it speaks levels because Avery Bradley's at the tail end of his career. You and I both know that. But yeah, there's certain times where, as a family man that we are both, money can't pay for certain things, nor can you justify taking certain actions based on money. And Avery Bradley especially kind of shows that family is the most important thing, because I feel the Lakers had a really good shot this year, taking it all and getting him another ring. And he will get another ring if we win it all, but I mean, the likelihood, we could debate about that right now, is, I mean, did we need Avery Bradley at all?
Before I go, I want to get your take on it. Did you think Avery Bradley would have helped us in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. He has the experience of a championship caliber player. He has tenacity, being a smaller man, but playing, as if he were a taller guard. Offensively, I feel he lacked a little bit compared to other players. But, given his experience is king, I think, when it comes to playoff season. It'll be interesting, though, because will that experience matter given the sort of condensed tail end of the season? I don't know. I haven't read anything that says what the playoffs will look like. Like, are we still going to follow a 7-game series?
I believe so. I believe the emphasis was to maintain a 7-game series for the playoffs.
There's that. I mean, who knows? Because home court advantage is essentially lost. Things of that sort may be different. I mean, they could still pick jersey colors. That counts for something, right? For the higher seed team.
Yeah.
But I think there are other options that could fill those shoes and will help the Lakers in the long run. But I do wish that Avery Bradley was there to at least, maybe not play the 20-some minutes that he's expected to play, but to at least be that, shoulder people can lean on, and that ear that can listen to the younger kids on how to go about things. But at the same time, we do have King James that's able to be there. I feel that Avery Bradley was able to take away some of the weight that was on LeBron's shoulders. Not all of it.
Wait. Okay.
No. When it comes to mentoring and like kind of leading the team and being that voice that may not. It's not the main voice. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
he's not even the second voice, or
but
the
I'm saying
third, or the
being
fourth,
like,
or the fifth.
Yeah, but he is a respected person in the NBA.
Sure.
So of course the younger kids are going to respect him and listen to him whenever he says anything.
Okay.
Let
me ask you this: Who are the younger kids you're referring to on the Lakers?
I am referring to. I'm glad you asked. The White Mamba himself, Alex Caruso. Because
I thought the White Mamba was Brian Scalabrine.
Yeah, is it? I mean, they could both share the title. It's big.
I think you're actually thinking of the Bald Mamba.
The Bald Mamba.
Yes,
All right, my bad, Scalabrine. Is he still coaching? Like, who knows?
He might be in the big three. I don't know.
Toughest man in the big three, right there.
Yes, sir.
But I think I was kind of segueing into that, where I think Alex Caruso could learn a lot from Avery Bradley and build that toughness that Avery Bradley has. In the fellow guard position, because I feel like we're lacking in the guard position a lot.
Yeah.
And Avery Bradley had the most experience to at least be an example.
I would say so, but my main gripe about not having Avery Bradley is the fact that he's one of our better perimeter defenders out there.
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, I would say the best guard defender we have. I mean, you can't count Rondo. You can't count Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I think he's lost a step. Although he can play defense, he's not the best defender. I feel like Avery Bradley, when he's face guarding you, it's kind of hard to score at times. You know, it's a little difficult. So I'm going to miss that in the playoffs more than anything. He's occasionally good for a corner three, but he misses way more than he makes. So if we do get a replacement, that's fine with me. But speaking of replacement, as Don was alluding to, one of the rumors out there is that J.R. Smith may be returning. And I just don't know how to feel about that, to be honest, man, because I think about the finals moment where LeBron just looks at J.R. Smith completely dumbfounded, pointing at the rim, and J.R. Smith's like, huh? Like, what? You
we got
didn't
this,
want
right?
me to? Oh. We up, right? We up? No?
Yeah.
So, Don, are you a J.R. Smith fan? Do you like
Oh,
him?
I love him, man. I would love to hang out with him. Do I want him on my team? Depends. He can add in another perimeter shooter that we could use. But there are just... I mean, I'm obviously going to be biased about it because we've seen him play in very high-pressure moments. Compiling that with the fact that he hasn't played in the NBA this year is another thing. He's rusty. Or I assume he is rusty.
Sure.
So there's that. Like, what I would really hope for is that we get Cook to step up. He has the experience on championship caliber teams. He has rings to prove it. He's a young cat that can probably grow into the expectations that we could probably had upon signing him. And of course, I hope Caruso steps up. I think he is as much of a hype figure he is. I feel like he could still develop a little bit more. Do I think he'll become an all-star? Obviously, yes. No, I don't think so. But I think he can be that role player that we could depend on. I wish him the best, and I hope he does reach that stardom that the social media gives him. But I feel that he could fill those shoes. Avery Bradley has lost a little bit of his step over the years, and he's getting older. So I hope the younger cats are able to step up. I don't know who else is out there that we could possibly pick up. I would say, if I'm being a little more bullish, give Antetokounmpo some minutes and let him grow a little bit. Some minutes, all right? Some minutes. Not saying a lot. But let's see if he could develop a little bit more. I haven't seen him play recently because he was dropped to the G League, no?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Don is referring to Giannis's little brother. Kostas. One of his little brothers, actually. Kostas Antetokounmpo. If you're from Greece, I think it's pronounced Antetokounmpo. If you're not from Greece, it's pronounced Antetokounmpo. I don't know why. I just read about this somewhere. I could be wrong, by the way, so don't quote me on that enunciation. But yeah, I completely disagree with Don's take. I think Antetokounmpo has no business playing a single minute for the remainder of the season.
Well, I mean, but then who else then? Who else can we pick up?
Okay, I don't think it's a matter of picking up. I think it's a matter of utilizing the roster you have. So one name that Don has neglected to mention is Rajon Rondo. Now,
playoff Rondo? But I say
exactly.
Because he will be in the rotation during playoffs. I had that assumption.
Right. But I think even more so, because if you remember, I had Rondo on one of our fantasy teams. I forget which one. And I remember he used to get more minutes when, like, let's say LeBron was resting, or when some other guy was resting, he would just play 30 then. But otherwise, it might be 15, might be 20. His minutes were all kind of over the place.
Sure.
And I thought to myself, we're all kind of waiting and banking on playoff dough, right? Because we saw what he did against the Warriors when he was paired with Anthony Davis not too long ago. Just like last year or 2 years ago, something like this.
Yeah.
So I feel like he still has it in him to really exploit whatever team he's up against and accentuate the talents of a guy like AD. And now alongside LeBron, I think there's more potential for playoff magic with those three. So given that Rondo will likely see more minutes in the playoffs, I think that automatically eats into whatever void is left by Avery Bradley. But of course, there's still more. There's probably another 10 or 15 minutes in there. And I think you play Caruso more. Caruso wasn't really getting many minutes, to be honest with you, unless it was a blowout. He was kind of a fourth quarter blowout guy, especially in recent games that I remember. So if Caruso eats up maybe, you know.
Sorry, I laughed. I laughed because remember that highlight video I sent you like last year where it was like Alex Caruso highlights and there was like 3 of the same play, just different angles.
I mean, it was a great highlight reel.
It was so good.
I mean, I enjoyed all the angles, and hopefully we see more angles and more footage of Caruso this particular season. I'm trying to think of who else could play. I mean, obviously they're gonna play. Yeah, go ahead.
What about Cook?
You know, I don't think too highly of Cook because although he was a serviceable backup to Stephen Curry on the Warriors, his small stature and lack of defensive prowess really holds him back. And I feel like he may play next to LeBron, next to AD to kind of open up the floor a little bit because his shooting is probably better than most. Like, I like Cook's three-point shooting more than Pope, more than Rondo, obviously, and even more than Caruso, although Caruso's not too bad himself. So, you know, I think Cook has value, but more of a specialist, if that makes sense. And if he is playing next to a guy like LeBron, Cook's not going to be that high-usage backup point guard that he was in Golden State. So for me, Cook is fine as a specialist. Put him in the corner or put him at the top when LeBron's driving in, have him kick out, totally okay. But it'll come down to, for me, some combination of Rondo, KCP, and Caruso to really make this work.
What about Waiters?
I heard about Waiters. Waiters, in my opinion, is probably more competent than J.R. Smith. But I'll be honest with you, man. Ever since he was on, what team was it? Was it Miami or the Cavs? Like whatever he was drafted on, I was never a fan of Waiters. You know?
Yeah.
I felt like he was a type of guy that could easily score 20 in a selfish way, but beyond that, I don't know. Like I don't really find myself rooting for him. And no knock against Dion Waiters. I respect the craft of every NBA individual, but do I want him? Okay, most 99% of NBA individuals. Okay, lower percentage of 99. I respect a good handful that I can count on probably one hand of NBA individuals. but I digress. I will say that if Waiters joins, I will understand why. If J.R. Smith joins, I'll also understand why, but I won't like it. And I don't think I'll enjoy rooting for either one. But because they're a Laker, I think obligatory, I have to root for the team. I have to root for them. So if we get somebody great, why not?
Cool. No, I'm all for it. And I hope, I mean, time will tell. I don't know how many games are going to be left. But is it straight up into the playoffs, or how does it work out?
So, based off of my very limited knowledge and my headline reading, I would say there is a 8-game regular season.
Solid
for the 22 teams that are invited back.
Sure. And
afterward, there's some kind of a play-in tournament, similar to how I suppose you have it in the like the wild card matchup in the NFL. You know, like before the real playoffs begin.
Got it.
So that basically gives, I guess, a couple of different teams an opportunity to make the playoffs that they would otherwise not have. Like one of the major, not really major, but one of the more enticing storylines that could happen is Zion Williamson versus LeBron round 1. How sick would that be? Like, I personally would love to see that, because not only does my boy Alonzo finally get his revenge over LeBron James for shipping his ass out, but on top of that, we finally get to see, you know, Zion play again. He barely played this year, but every time he did play, I remember, Don, you and I were actually watching legally the live telecast on TNT on cable, which we both paid for. And it was his debut game, right? And it was like so cool to watch that, because even though he was trash in the first half, I think in the second half he hit like 4 threes or something.
Yeah, they were feeding him the ball though.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
I mean, they have to. They have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
with that little 1-inch vertical jump shot.
Even though it's just a 1-inch vertical, when he lands, it's like an earthquake, man. It's like what is it? A Richter scale of 6.0.
At least.
It's like at least each foot is 6.0. And the aftershocks, my goodness, every step afterwards is aftershock.
You're such a hater.
but I think the thing that excites me is, Don knows, and he alluded to this, I'm very picky with NBA players that I root for, like genuinely root for. And Don also knows when I do find a player that I appreciate, I tend to defend him a lot. I tend to defend him against a lot of the criticisms, the controversies, whatever it may be. Lonzo being one of the younger players that I like a lot. And to be honest with you, I didn't know if I would appreciate Zion as much as I really have this past season, because I don't watch a whole lot of college basketball. I didn't know how good he really was. I wasn't buying into the hype train in the beginning. But as soon as I saw his debut game and I noticed the chemistry between him and Lonzo, I thought, you know what? I can totally root for him. He's a likable personality. He seems to say the right things. He doesn't come off, at least, as a cocky individual. And just the fact that he's keeping my boy Lonzo on the team and not kicked out of the league, I'm very happy about that too. So that's what I'm looking forward to, man. I don't know about you, but I hope that somehow, some way, the Pelicans wind up squeaking into the playoffs and we get that brilliant matchup, 1 versus 8. LeBron's Lakers versus Lonzo and Zion's Pelicans. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be fantastic?
I think so, and yeah, I mean, time will tell. I think the Pelicans would be. I mean, young legs, dude. Young legs versus older legs. So who knows what's been going on these past couple months? We know LeBron's been training if you follow his Instagram. But what about everybody else? Do you think Dwight's been putting in the hours?
Well, I heard that Dwight was considering not participating.
Well, I'm not surprised. Honestly, I'm not surprised if anybody considers not to participate, except for those that are heavily endorsed, and they have a financial stake in actually, putting whatever brand they rep on the screen.
Sure.
So I don't blame them, but I'm just thinking the younger legs will be able to jump the gun a lot quicker than these older cats, who most likely haven't, or are more than likely to have not trained as much as they usually do. They probably treated it as an off season, given the fact that they'd have to go to private trainers and all that. Things were shut down. I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting. I could see the Pelicans, squeezing, or rather taking a game or two, if it's a 7-game series. But I don't see them winning.
I mean, I don't think anybody expects the Pelicans to make it past round 1, regardless of who they face. And it's
no one thought about that when. Well, yeah, no, they didn't even make it when. Yeah, never mind.
I feel you.
By the way, I'm drinking. I'm pretty heavy into it now. I'm like 2/3 of the bottle down of a bottle from the brewery.
Understood. And what percentage? Alcohol.
This one's a meager and very meek. 13.3%.
That's silly. That's just silly for someone like you.
Man. Come on.
Oh,
hey, by the way, dude, I gotta tell you. Hope this doesn't break any of your segues. We're in escrow.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah,
I for those that don't know, Don and his wife have been looking for a new home for quite some time. And
I did tell you already. That's right. We did talk about this.
We did.
As you can tell, but 13.3%. No joke.
I'm sure it's good though. I'm sure it's delicious.
Oh,
it's probably one of
it's like eating a biscotti.
Ooh, I might want to try that.
You will one day. One day, we'll have an extra bedroom for you to sleep in. Because I'm not going to allow you to drive home after drinking one of these.
I'll be like the IT technician that's like permanently housed there, working on the volume. Is the volume good, Don? Is the level okay for you? The mic volume is okay.
Oh, why that tone?
You should have seen me. I was pretending to wear glasses and like pushing glasses against my forehead too. I tend to do that for that impersonation. Now, obviously, we don't mean to be contentious on this podcast, but sometimes things do bubble up. We could have quote unquote diplomatic incidents happen, similar to something that was teased to me when I was reading some articles online. We're not going to get into the whole thing, but there's this. Actually, we are going to get into it because otherwise it's hard for me to transition beyond it. So I saw this.
Smooth.
I saw this, and I'll briefly cover it. I saw this really interesting article on CNN that basically the headline was "Military called in after TikTok T-War goes global," and that instantly caught my attention. I'm like, what the hell does this even mean? I barely know what a TikTok is. I think prior to looking at this article, I haven't even seen a TikTok video, but here I went in and I basically found it's this American woman in the UK showing people how to make tea, and in a very, very wrong way, like basically nuking the water in the microwave and then pouring milk and then like putting a tea bag on the very top of it and then pouring like industrial amounts of sugar into the cup, and it was just ridiculous. And she was kind of jokingly, in a way, she was very much in on the joke. She was kind of jokingly pissing off a lot of the British Twitter users out there, and she goes a little bit back and forth, and I guess the U.S. ambassador and UK ambassador get involved, and they bring in the military in the sense that they actually bring in military personnel to do a video to show the proper way to make a cuppa, as they say in
a cup of tea.
Yeah, a cup of tea, as they say in the UK. And the American, of course, made the coffee, but apparently his method of making coffee was not very good. It was a terrible way because he showed how to make it with instant. He used the instant crystals, which is not a good thing if you're a connoisseur. But this is only a transition, as Don was laughing to point out. This is only a stepping stone to something that I want to talk about that's far more serious.
You didn't have to call it out, man. Like, let's show a bit of professionalism here, bro.
Right, man. I should. I've been calling too many things out.
You just gotta roll with it. Roll with the punches, man. Roll with the punches, like you're boxing. Just roll with the punches.
There you go. Rope a dope. I'm gonna be Muhammad Ali against Joe Frazier. That's what. So there's this very serious conflict going on over on the east side of town, and by that I mean the border between India and China. I believe this happened sometime like a week ago or so. Several Indian soldiers were basically killed near the edge of the Kashmir province, which is a very disputed territory. It's disputed among Pakistan, India, and China. Like, there's all these troops pretty much stationed on every side of this little province, and every country has some claim to it. So it's a very disputed territory. And I guess from what I read, and I could be wrong about this, China kind of set things off here and killed several Indian soldiers, including like a general who was rather high level. So India retaliated, and some numbers have been reported. I'm not sure if these are accurate. Like, India came back and killed 40 Chinese soldiers, and China, killed like 20 or something. And this is becoming a larger and larger incident. And what's scary to me, and I'm sure it is to Don as well, is the fact that we're talking about, maybe not so much for Don, we're talking about two nuclear players. We're talking about, Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping, who have the button that they can press to launch nuclear warheads at any given direction. And just imagine the calamity, or as RTJ would call it, the holy calamafuck, which was also Don's favorite song from the album review from last week. And shout out to everybody that listened to the album review. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit on the long side, but thank you for checking in. And on that note, on that brief tangent, shout out to our new subscriber, Danny. I'm very happy that she joined aboard. She's our 6th subscriber.
Happy birthday to... Oh, is it her birthday?
No, it is not. It is not her birthday.
Oh, I'll save it then.
You might have to save it for February. That's a long ways away. But no, I'm glad that we're getting more subscribers, because it is really important to increase that count. And of course, we're getting views too. I'm always happy to see the views, man. Like the first day, it's kind of nerve-wracking. Like, oh, it's stuck on one view. I wonder who saw it. Oh, it's me, because I was putting in the subtitles, or not subtitles, but I was putting in the timestamps and everything. But after a few days, you start seeing more and more views, and I guess it's friends and well-wishers listening, checking it out. But maybe it's even a few randoms. Maybe even it's like, random people who had tried some Bunso at Lokels Only recently,
Delicious.
and they just that's right. And I know Don has been doing tremendous at Lokels Only.
I'm so tired.
I know he is busting his ass, working the 9 to 5 and the 5 to 9, just 24 hours of preparation, of packing it up, packing it in. But things are going well there.
It's my Nipsey hustle. That's what I'm doing.
It's a Nipsey hustle. The marathon continues for sure. But so going back to the matter of before my 4 or 5 tangents, which I tend to do, Don, what do you think will come out of this? Do you think this will lead to any greater conflict?
I definitely think it will. I honestly just heard about this from Arjun, an hour ago? But I know how aggressive China can be, and if they have lives lost, of course, as any leader would do, they'd want to, seek payback in some way. I don't see China as a peaceful entity when it comes to things that have been put right in front of them. And if blood has been shed, more blood will be shed until there's some sort of diplomatic peace agreement that may occur in the future. But more blood will be shed. I think I share your sentiment, Arjun, where I fear for India.
Yes. I only laugh because this is referring to as Don pointed out, a brief conversation we had during pre-production about this topic, and I basically shared my concern that, hey, look, I don't think India has as much ammunition, much firepower.
You guys might be able to calculate, bombs correctly and get your, bang for your buck. Haha. But yeah, I think China engineers are just as good, so, and you have your pick in there, so, with the population they have too, so I don't know, it'll be interesting. Just raw square footage, square mileage, square acreage.
That's right.
The countries, it's, what, okay, India invades China, where the fuck are you going? You got a lot of stuff to try, you know what I mean? Like, you got a long ways to go,
So tell me this, though. If you were to kind of relate this, matchup, this battle of the titans, sure, if you will, to a game that is very near and dear to your heart, Civilization 6, what do you think the strategy would be for India to win?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, India is going to have to turn the AI on, let raise Gandhi from the grave that he is in, and allow him to pose as a peaceful narrator that eventually pushes, for some reason, many red buttons on his dashboard to unleash havoc and hell across China.
So I do want to say, Don, I'm sure you know, and what Don's referring to here, in Civilization, there's kind of a long-running trend, you could say. It's actually a real thing that when the AI is controlling India, and the ruler of India being Gandhi, for whatever reason, when nuclear weaponry becomes available, India turns completely hostile and is looking for any reason to wage war and nuke you to death. Yeah,
there was a error in the code where Gandhi was supposed to be a very, very peaceful leader.
Right.
But the error somehow flipped it the other way.
Do you know what it is? I actually looked at the video, and I'll send it to you later because it's pretty interesting. So one of the earlier civs, it might have been like Civ 1 or 2, Gandhi's like a hostility rating or something was like a 1, I think. And then there was some setting where like, everybody's hostility rating drops by 2 for this era.
So it drops it to what's supposed to be negative, but that negative turns into a positive for whatever the
Yeah,
code may be.
it basically rolled over to like 255. So Gandhi all of a sudden went from being like completely non-hostile to like a warmonger, like in an instant, 0 to 60 really fast.
Just fucking the horns come out immediately.
Immediately, man. Immediately.
No hunger strikes. Fuck that.
Oh no, he's eating everything now. Just coming your way with a fork, with the Filipino fork and knife.
There we go.
Probably taken from the Philippines.
Stocked with nukes around the belt and everything, man. He don't give a fuck.
There you go, strapped up, bandolier on his chest. Too.
Strapped up. Shout out to RTJ4.
There you go. So let's say in this hypothetical, and we're talking more about the real life, not so much a civilization now. What do you think the U.S. would do? And I know the answer, but what do you think the U.S. would do in this case? Who would they support?
Honestly, with our current leader,
yes,
they would probably still support China.
Interesting.
Why are you going to battle or go to battle against your biggest enemy right now?
Okay, well, let me tell you. So, in an article that I found just now, this is from scroll.in, written by, I guess, just the Scroll
wait,
staff.
hold on. Let's just get this right. Your source for today is scroll.in.
Okay, scroll in. I can see it now. I see the joke. Let me send you the thing.
Is this like an Onion kind of sort of website, or what is it?
Well, it could be, and if it is, then I have egg on my face. But let's just say this was written 7 minutes ago. Okay?
Oh my god, okay.
By scroll.in, scroll staff. And essentially one of the lines here is that Mike Pompeo, who I believe is the Secretary of State, U.S. Secretary of State, says U.S. is reviewing deployment of forces to counter China's threat to India. So what this means to me is that they're actually thinking about reducing troops elsewhere, like in Germany, they're going to reduce the troops from 52K to 25K, and they may push these troops to stand ground in India to help defend them and other countries nearby, like Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, South China Sea challenges, and the Philippines. How about that?
There we go.
So it's pretty clear that Trump, if anything, is going to be supporting India, which is go ahead.
Yeah, no, Trump is anti-China as much as it gets, right? I mean, he'll call them out whenever he gets the opportunity. I just don't understand why you would push that button, because this may be controversial. Who's the real world power right now?
I'm sure you'd say it's China.
Well, I don't think it is necessarily, but I think there's a very close race that's going on right now.
Sure.
Sure. And why would you kind of gamble at it?
Well, okay, let's think about it this way. Would you be more surprised if U.S. did nothing?
Well, I mean, they're making their cup of teas, so I can't really say much.
Well, they're making their cup of teas. It's an American making the cup of tea in England, so I don't know if that quite translates. Because here's the thing,
now we're going to fucking what? All over the Southeast Asia? There we go. Well, we can make cup of tea, cup of boba, cup of noodles. We could do all that.
And when you make that boba, it has to be with real milk, right?
Always real milk. Always real milk. Delicious.
That's right.
Bunso. Lokels Only.
Oh, by the way, speaking of boba, I finally tried the Xiao Mei boba ice cream.
Oh.
And I'll give you guys a quick 2-minute review here. All right, another tangent. So I thought it tasted really sweet. Yep. I could really tell that, the brown sugar was there. I was surprised by the softness of the boba.
Yes.
I think more than anything, I didn't expect it to be so almost creamy. Like, it was amazing how it kind of blended together, and the color, if you ever open up one of these guys, they look amazing. It's kind of like you're looking at a planet, like a Saturn.
Well, the way I see it, it's like a marble.
Yeah, great. That's even better than what I was thinking. It is very marbleized in that sense, and it melts really quickly too. I don't know if you noticed, but you gotta lop it up really fast.
You gotta slurp that shit up.
Oh yeah, for sure. And but very, very sweet. I typically don't go for like non-chocolatey or vanilla and mix-in type of ice creams. But this was cool. I mean, it was a very refreshing take on a boba drink. Now, I thought $8 is a fair price for it because, number one, it is imported. And, even though it is $2 a bar, because it's such a rarity and because it's so hard to get, I think $8 is kind of a steal. I know Don and his wife Kelly, they pretty much guffaw at the fact that it's like $10 or $11. That's just fictitious.
Yeah, right? Because, dude, honestly, it's like you get a boba and that shit's overpriced. Because we know what goes into it. It's fucking tea that's concentrated tea already and a bunch of powder. Even the milk is powder. It comes from fucking coffee creamer most of the time, 90% of the time.
And what's wrong with that?
That shit is processed and fake. It ain't real milk boba by Bunso.
Oh, and the boba isn't processed?
Not if you make it by hand like us.
There you go. See, I was testing you there to make sure the audience know when you buy boba milk tea from Don and Kelly from Bunso.
Yeah, we roll that shit. We roll that shit. Okay, that's made with love and hate at the same time. You have no idea yet.
It's the hero villain. It's the Kobe Bryant of bobas. It's the hero and the villain at the same time.
Yeah, I purposely hope that one of those bobas gets shot up into your throat. You know, that's how I do it.
Oh my god, that was a very violent imagery of boba.
Hey dude, hey, it's delicious. It's a nice little wake-up surprise. You don't need as much caffeine as you do. You just need a boba shot right to the back of the uvula. You're good.
Damn, son.
Yeah, man.
Breaking out the biological terms.
There we go. Almost a doctor.
Oh, hey, in my book, you are a doctor. You know?
Bro, no.
Let's not say this. I got you.
Credibility.
I got you. So I guess it seems like there's an opportunity here for the conflict to get worse. I hope it doesn't. I hope neighboring countries, like I know the UK is taking the pre-nuclear Gandhi stance by saying, "Hey guys, let's all get along. Let's escalate."
Dude, hey, you know what would be really interesting?
Yeah.
China offers up, or rather not offers up, inflicts bio-warfare. Yeah.
You mean they might be kind of experienced in that capacity already?
I'm just saying, as a possible. This is what I say. It'd be interesting. What if they're like, "Ha, all your troops are sick. Oh, it's not COVID. Trust. This is something that we've been developing for a while." Boom.
Hey, did you hear like bats and pangolins in the background? Like, oh no, put that away. Put that back in the truck.
Yeah, we don't use bullets. We use animals.
Oh shit, that's like some Aquaman shit right there.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah, man.
Bullets, we use animals.
Right? Imagine though. That'd be pretty funny. Well, it'd be sad, but you know what I mean.
That would be biological warfare is like, one of those things that's outlawed by the UN, right? Like you can totally not have that.
Yeah. But bullets and metal casings are fine.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird. It's twisted. I mean, death is still death when you look at it that way. But I guess because biowarfare is so difficult to catch, I guess it's
you're messing with the sanctity of life in a different way, and you're manipulating it in a different way. And I think, not to stray away from what's going on in the border of India and China, I think it's weird. It's almost like playing God, even though using guns can be debated on the same light with. I would much rather die from a bullet than a virus. Would you?
That's an interesting question. I have to think about that.
Let's think about it, dude. A bullet to the head, or a virus that gives you a mental disorder, then kills you 10 years from now.
Yeah. So basically, at the essence of what you're saying is, do you want to have a quick and painless death, or relatively painless, or do you want to have a long, prolonged, miserable dying experience?
Do you want to suffer for 10 years, or do you want to suffer for 10 minutes?
Ooh, 10 minutes is also pretty bad, though.
Well, no shit, but imagine 10 minutes times God knows how long to get to 10 years.
Well, I think you can look at it in a different way, too. Like, what if in those 10 years, yes, you're suffering, but what if there's some kind of a cure that becomes a breakthrough and allows you to live the rest of your life?
FDA won't allow that shit in 10 years. Come on now.
Dude, FDA is allowing so many things to go through clinical trials because of COVID.
Yeah,
Why allow that for...
Do we have a cure yet? No, I get what you're saying, but I'm saying FDA moves relatively slow, and we still have.
Unless it's an emergency,
Dude,
Don.
and by the way, man, would you be the? I get where you're going with it. I'm just trying to catch you off guard.
I know, but you're failing.
Hey, fucking 4/5 of a bottle, man. I'll get you one day where I'll be the sober one and you'll be the drunk one.
That'll be the day. I wonder if it'll ever happen. It will. I'm sure it will. Once you get situated, I'm sure it will. Go ahead.
Fuck, what were we talking about?
You were talking about how you forgot to wish me happy birthday on Monday.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday.
It's okay. Go ahead. You're talking about India, China.
Oh, no. Yeah. So I was going to say, if a COVID vaccine were to come out tomorrow, would you get it?
Well, I would actually say save it for people that need it more.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Because the way I look at it, even if I get the vaccine, does that change my quality of life in any way?
What if it was plentiful? What if there were, millions upon millions of vaccine and it only required less than 1 mil per person to vaccinate someone? And they have gallons upon gallons upon gallons upon gallons of it. They have barrels of it.
Could you imagine? They have giant vats of this inoculation.
They do, well, do you? I don't know if you read about it, but what was the one that fucking Trump was taking daily?
Hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, the producer of it had vats of it just sitting still in powder form at their place.
Yeah, that's different because it's already been around for ages because of
malaria.
I get it.
But I mean, when they're testing all these things, they don't just make small batches.
I know. I understand.
So let's just say, it's less than 1 mil.
Well, yeah. So your hypothetical is basically what the world is envisioning happening either at the end of this year or next year.
Dude, my hypothetical is just, would you take it or not?
Yeah, I would take it if there's available for everybody. Sure. Wouldn't you?
No.
Why? You're an anti-vaxxer, Don?
No, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I just don't trust something that's been processed. Science doesn't just... expedited science to me is bad science. It's forced outcomes. To us, science should be well vetted within the community rather than, forced to produce some sort of result. In medicine...
Even if it means hundreds of thousands will die?
How many people have died so far? Or what are we at, 123? Okay?
We're up there, bro. We're clocking big numbers.
I get it. But, dude, why vaccinate when you know there's potential side effects for this particular case?
Oh my God. Don, you're an anti-vaxxer. Your arguments are straight out of the book.
No, I get it. But I'm saying, this MMR and other things that we vaccinate for, those vaccines have been well tested already. Mm-hmm. We know there aren't any side effects that are long-term or that would affect our long-term longevity. We don't know that yet for COVID stuff.
I find it fascinating that this opinion comes from the individual that's willingly, saying, "Hey, I'm going to get paid $100 million if someone injects me with AIDS."
Hey. That's different, man. See, money's not on the line. My life is on the line here. And my quality of life is on the line here because we don't know yet what's in these vaccinations.
You sleep a few hours more every day. What's the big deal?
Yo, man, that's a blessing, in my opinion. But, I've been lacking on sleep for some.
I feel you. You had a sleep day. The day that we were supposed to do something, you had a sleep day.
Oh my God, dude! You have no idea.
No,
we'll talk about it after. But
I'm giving you a hard time. That's all.
Happy birthday!
Calm your tits. So I'll say, I understand your concern because, yes, I agree that enough testing has to be done to really make sure beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're not going to come up with bad side effects long term if someone takes it. And if everybody's taking it, there's so many different variables involved. You don't know how different pre-existing conditions could interfere with the vaccine, how, undiagnosed things could interfere. So I get your point. But the fact of the matter is, I think you would take it if this came out at the end of the year or even next year, and this was readily available by everybody, and say even your workplace mandated that everybody who comes into work has to show that they have taken the vaccine. You would take it then, right?
It depends.
It depends on what?
Depends, dude, because, it's different because I work in healthcare, so my ass is vaccinated for fucking everything.
There you go.
But yeah, no, it's just
so that one sentence, Don.
Yeah, but I get it. But that's more of a requirement. It's not by choice.
Okay.
Like that's what I'm asking.
So
like, are you willing?
You're saying you don't have free will.
I never have free will. I don't believe in free will. I believe in destiny.
Oh shit. This is close. This is up there with imagination for you.
Oh hell yeah, dude. Oh man, hey yo, I gotta get more through this bottle, dude. This is great. I'm loving it. Hey man.
Say about man. That sounds really good. Probably one of your better beers, better brews.
So, I'll buy another one for you when you come in.
All good,
yeah,
all good.
We'll see.
But all right, so I got you, man.
But all right, well, what do you think's gonna happen with India and China then?
I think it'll be kind of a standoff for months to come, and I think there will be financial sanctions probably in place. Sure. I heard there's some talk already about India kind of banning certain phones that are coming out of China. I don't know. I don't know if all this will actually last for too long, but I think eventually it'll kind of settle down into a uneasy tension like it was before this incident. But I don't see it de-escalating anytime soon. It'll probably take a while.
Got it. That's good. Yeah. Hey, man, and I think we're getting close to that hour mark, so I want to start up a new segment right now, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
So I'm looking at this one website called conversationstartersworld.com. We all know that Arjun's a single man, single and ready to mingle, as far as
Jesus. I know. Jesus.
So, we're going to go through some conversation starters that I'm hoping one day you could potentially reel in your wife with, eventually. Future wife.
There you go.
Or husband, whatever's good for you. I don't mind.
God damn, man.
But I found a good question.
Yeah.
There is no segue to it. So, I'm just going to say it. Should kidneys be able to be bought and sold? What's your gut, your kidney response? That gut interaction. I want that organ sort of feeling response.
Bought and sold.
Yeah,
well, I believe that as the owner of 2 kidneys myself,
sure,
if I am willing to part with one
sure.
for some money, I think I should be able to do that. Now, keep in mind I'm saying that I, as the owner, have to give consent for this. I am totally against the whole idea of some black market going on, of people drugging tourists and harvesting body parts, harvesting organs,
sure.
selling it on the black market. I'm totally against all of it. I've seen horror stories on TV that depict that stuff. It is gruesome. It is horrible. But yeah, as an individual, I think if that kind of a financial opportunity presented itself, why not? Sure.
Even if it's at the consequence of 10 years of one's life?
Well, even if you were to donate a kidney, that would still be in play. So I don't really see the difference between donating a kidney and having that kind of issue, and selling a kidney where you get some money and also having that issue. What you're talking about already happens today.
Sure. Well, then... Damn, that's a really good fucking question. Hold on, I'm gonna get a different one, dude. You were too concise with this stuff, man. Yeah, that wife is gonna have a hard time with you, man. All right, let's see.
I sure hope.
All right, here's a good one. It kind of relates to it.
Right.
What unethical experiment would have the biggest positive impact on society as a whole?
That's a great one. I would say, kind of like what we talked about a few podcasts ago with the whole Neuralink thing, because I think you can really make you can catalyze a lot of the progress that we expect to happen in society if you have human beings thinking faster, processing information faster, and just being in touch with technology in a way that's unprecedented today. So even though, yes, it brings up a lot of ethical dilemmas in terms of class separation, increasing the divide between the rich who can afford this technology and the poor who are left to their own biological lonesomes, I think there's still a lot of value in advancing society and getting us to that whole space age, but really space exploration on the daily type of situation. So Yeah, I think that would be my pick right there. But how about you?
That's unethical, though?
I think so because wouldn't you say that as the Neuralink technology and maybe other competitors as well get better and better, I think it will be a situation where, hey, aren't you kind of playing God if you're giving these quote unquote performance enhancing devices, implanted into human beings? You're basically creating a super race, like a master race of people that shouldn't really be that way. I mean, that's not how quote unquote God intended. That's not how nature intended. So I would consider that to be a major ethical dilemma. You could disagree. You could beg to differ.
It's not that I disagree. It's just one of those. I mean, I'm fearful because I'm thinking the most unethical thing that I know of was I'm blanking on the word, but there was something called like the Tuskegee experiment. Have you heard of that?
It rings a bell, but please elucidate my memory.
Let me just make sure that I'm doing this.
Yeah,
the Tuskegee study, the syphilis
Okay.
experiment, where they
Oh,
basically gave syphilis to a bunch of African American males in the mid '90s. Totally unethical, but they were able to study a disease a little bit more to understand it, so that way in the future it would become more treatable and controllable. There was a huge benefit to it, but I don't think that was the most, or is it the most unethical you could be. And it's kind of weird to say, like, hey, what's the good outcome that could come from the most bad you could do to someone,
So was your question about something that hasn't happened yet, like something that could
yeah,
happen?
yeah, like something
Okay.
that could happen.
Okay, so I guess one thing you could say that's a little bit more contemporary would be, what if you were to test hundreds of thousands of people across the world with the COVID vaccine?
Oh
right?
no, I wouldn't even say that. I'd go a step further. What if you were to test everybody, put everybody on Adderall? What
To
happens
accomplish
to accomplish kind of like amplified brain utilization, because you're able to, not that I've used Adderall or anything like that.
Yeah, wink, wink. Not that we've used it at all. That's right.
But
That's
if you
right.
have someone that's constantly on it and they're able to utilize their brain capacity to a greater extent than they normally do.
Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, Don basically stole my Neuralink idea, but turned it into
No, yeah, but Neuralink exists.
Not
okay,
really.
well, maybe not that. What about performance enhancing drugs? Give everybody fucking steroids. But that shit's not too unethical because that shit doesn't really do much. I mean, it puts your organs at risk a little bit, puts an additional strain on it. Hey, but this goes back to our like past conversation where I'm all for it, man. Hell yeah, dude! Imagine fucking LeBron dunking at 50.
I don't know, man. I still about the PEDs and stuff, man. I feel like it's different if you're an android, all right? If you're an android, if you got some
Sure.
robots in you, I feel like you're built differently. Like I just feel like the idea of these chemicals, these chemical systems changing in your body because of PEDs and increasing your muscle mass or the time it takes to recover from injury decreases. I don't know, man. I feel like studies have shown that prolonged usage of PEDs has really bad long-term consequences. Like, I don't want to see LeBron end up in a wheelchair at 55.
Bro, why not, man?
Come on.
Why not, dude?
Slippery slope here, bro. Where are you going with this?
Dude, I'm just saying. Imagine, like, he'd be dunking from the 3-point line if he could.
Would you want to see that, though?
Fuck
Like,
yeah, dude! Can you imagine? That's Space Jam, like in real life, dude.
Bro, like, imagine, like, his son, Bronny, is, like, 30 and close to retiring, and LeBron's still dunking on people. That's just ridiculous. That's just
that'd be
ridiculous.
great.
But I think there's plenty more conversation we can get into about LeBron and his exploits, and we'll probably find out more information as the weeks pass and we get closer to July 30th. And we hope, both of us hope, India does not turn into the civilization version of India and nuke everybody. We hope that they go the pacifist route as does China, and they de-escalate as quickly as possible. And I think our next episode, Don, do you think we'll be able to hit the Wednesday for once, or are we going to have to?
Wednesdays are going to have to move, and I could explain afterwards. I'm helping build a program.
We will,
but it's one of those. We'll eventually get to it. I'm planning on trying to just do days during the time on Wednesdays. But we'll see.
All right, we'll tease the audience with that much info, and then we'll get into it more later time. I think this was a fantastic episode. We are sorry for being a little later than usual on this one, but we hope you appreciate it. We hope you enjoy it. New subscribers, old subscribers, people who watch but don't subscribe, please subscribe. And
please.
Yes.
We'll sing you happy birthday. We'll sing you happy birthday.
We'll sing it twice. And you don't even have to wash your hands. You don't even have to
no. Wash your hands, please. Wash your hands.
Yeah, that's right. And wear the mask, too. Mask up. But anyways, this was... Mask on. Mr. Miyagi right there. Now, thank you so much for joining us for this podcast. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you later.
Peace.